months behind on it.
Thank you.
All right, so before we begin, I actually got the chance to come in and observe today, and things looked a whole lot better. Like, I felt as if the lesson, the structures were where they needed to be at. And I noticed, if you notice, when I would pop in, what I was looking for to see if you were at the same place in your lesson that I was at in my lesson. And every time I came in, when I came in doing the do now, you were on the do now. When I came in doing the you do, you were on the you do. When I was exiting out, you were starting your exit ticket. When I was walking in, Thomas was starting his exit ticket. So your flow and your pacing of the lesson have gotten a whole lot better. So how does that feel?
It feels good to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I did want to ask you is,
Go for it.
class, like I have watched you, and from me, especially in fourth grade, it's like pulling teeth to get the response or to get the, and I feel like I'm asking the right questions. But it just seems like something, like, should I be slowing it down or should I be...
Pick up the pace. They'll catch on to it and make sure that you're actually being very clear and explicit in what it is that you're asking.
Okay.
If you ask a question and it seems as if they're not understanding it, then reiterate it.
Okay.
Say it again, or take like 2 seconds to process it in your mind. Did I say it in a clear way? If you didn't say it in a clear way, reword it. Because they're actually pretty intelligent. They're actually pretty intelligent, and they like to talk and they like to participate. So it's all about the way you word it and whether or not it was actually clear. And we can actually address like little question stems that you can actually use in order to elicit responses from them when it seems as if like the conversation is going nowhere, so to speak. I actually just got done giving Ms. Clark that type of feedback. So glows are that you've gotten the hang of, I think, the pace of this lesson and what it feels like to be like properly planned for it, and just how things flow a whole lot easier when things are in their place. So I think you got the I do, you do, we do, do now part of everything down packed. It's just about building the rigor on top of it. So I came in and I observed yesterday, I believe it was, and I'm going to let you watch a bit of this lesson, and we're going to go over some things that we've noticed within the lesson. So if you don't mind, just scoot that on to the side. You can press the play button on whenever you're ready. So let's stop it right here. So what were your expectations for them during this lesson?
To draw and create the globe.
So so to draw and create the globe, and what were they going to do with the globe? Like, what was the purpose behind them drawing and creating the globe?
To create it and then be able to study it, because we're going to be able to label it.
Awesome job. So were they creating the globe from scratch?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think may have been like some of the problems with them actually creating the globe from scratch and using it as a study guide?
It wasn't a classwork assignment, or it shouldn't have been a class work. It should have been a class activity.
So I try to stay away from colors, and I'll tell you why. Because colors, it's easy to turn it into an arts and crafts project and not necessarily a learning project. So when we bring out colors, you have to be sure that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck. Like, there's a reason why you're using colors. My color pencils are over there. I have markers. I have another set of color pencils, and I have another set of crayons. I've never opened them. Never opened them. And nothing's wrong with using colors. I just find that within the 45 minutes that I have to teach, I don't get the biggest bang for my buck if I allow them to use color pencils, because then they get distracted on what color am I going to color this in. I don't find it to give me the biggest bang for my buck. So if there's ever a chance that you have to use them and you figure as if, you know, this is going to be beneficial to my lesson, then go for it. But the only problem or discrepancy I have with you actually asking them to draw this is that they were going to use it for a study guide. So what happens if Curtis doesn't draw Africa in the right place, or the contents aren't exactly where they need to be at? They're not really a true representation of the way that they're going to be assessed on their test, and it's not a true representation of the way they're going to be assessed on the ILE. So when you ask them to draw things, a lot of times things can be left can be left to interpretation, and a lot of times things can go completely left. And then they take this home and they're studying this. And then when they come back for the test on Friday, it's like, wait a minute, I didn't have Africa in the same place, or I didn't have this ocean over here. My ocean was a little bit further to the left or a little bit further to the right. So next time, like, give them a map and maybe make the assignment labeling each and every part of it. And then they can use that as their study guide. But when they draw it, it becomes a little bit of it is left up to interpretation. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Cool deal. So another thing with this lesson was that, and I think you can agree, what would be another thing that you think could have been improved with this lesson in particular?
It was a lot of wait time.
It was a lot of wait time, yeah. And what part of this lesson am I observing right now?
Children talking.
Yes, but what part of the lesson is it? The do now, the I do, the we do?
Mm-hmm. I guess that would have been, it wasn't really a format.
Mm-hmm.
So, we do?
Yeah. So, and after this is over with, they actually left to go to enrichment. So if this was the lesson and this was the we do, they missed the you do, they missed the exit ticket, right? So this was one big we do. So it's very important that you have everything scripted out that you actually need to, and that you start following that format, the I do, we do, you do part. And if you notice, when I came in and observed today, do you feel as if that lesson flowed a little bit smoother? Because you had all of your parts in place.
I went into this, honestly talking,
yeah,
I went into this lesson, no. I stayed the prior focusing on that, on the 5th grade, making a packet. Now you get to 4th grade. So it was kind of like weaning it. So it was like, it wasn't, it wasn't effective.
So for next steps, let's go on ahead and let's look at your next lesson plan. What are we on tomorrow? Yesterday we did the Mayas, right?
Aztecs.
So tomorrow we're doing Aztecs. How do you think the lesson with the Mayans went?
It went well, except for, I see like some of the things you're saying are coming back now. Because what I should have done in retrospect, I should have gave them a vocab key. And that way, like certain things like hieroglyphics and the opportunity of teaching it twice. When you see what you make a mistake on the first class, you can go back.
You can go back. But remember, in your PowerPoint, you had the pictures. Remember, we put the pictures of the things that we're gonna.
But they couldn't understand hieroglyphics, and
So when they can't understand things, a lot of times you call those teachable moments. Like I'll be in the middle of a lesson, and I'll notice that maybe I have 30 seconds. So I'll go to my computer. I'll type in hieroglyphics, however you spell it. I'll type in hieroglyphics and I'll be like, this is what I'm referring to when I say hieroglyphics. I'm referring to the use of pictures to convey messages to other people. That took me maybe 15 seconds. 15 seconds, and now you're clear on what it is that hieroglyphics look like. Then I jump back on task, I'll minimize it, and I'll go back to my PowerPoint, and we keep on rolling from there. So everybody knows the hieroglyphics are. A lot of times in my lessons, like Justin, of all people, all the time will raise his hand and be like, well, what's this? Or what's that? And if I have the time, I'll go back and I'll pull it up. Or if I don't, and it's not pertinent to the lesson, I'll tell him, you know what, if we have time after the lesson, I'll show you a video on it. But if it is pertinent to the lesson, I'll take that 10 minutes, I'll stop, I'll type it in on YouTube. I'm sorry, not YouTube. I'll type it in on Global, pull up the image search, and let them see it. Then we're moving right on along with the lesson. Okay. So we call those teachable moments. So let's quickly take a look at your next lesson before our time is up. I have to focus just for it. Are we 5th? Yeah. Which one? 1? So which one you got for the day?
Aztecs.
Is it going to be Wednesday?
Yeah.
So keep in mind Wednesday lessons are short, so you may want to do away with the you do. This is the one you want? Yeah. Aztecs?
Yes. But I'm tweaking it. Because even yesterday what I did after we left, I redid my lesson for 4th grade because I found what you were saying valuable. So in 4th grade, even though I couldn't figure out the Aspire thing and it was getting late. So I did what I knew.
Okay, good, yeah. Active Inspire is something that it comes with time.
But this is
okay.
what
So
we did.
that's fine too. If you're more of a PowerPoint person, then do that. Eventually, I'll tell you. I think Active Inspire is a little bit better. It's a little bit more interactive. But if this is what you know right now, that's gonna get you to the. As long as it gets you to the end result of them learning the content, all is well.
So that's what we did in fourth grade. So after I went home and did it, I was like, well, that makes sense. And then I did notice fourth grade went smoother. And fifth grade went
because everything you need is already here. This is like your personal index cards, right? A lot of times people walk in and they may think it's for the kids. It's not always for the kids.
No.
The majority of the time it's for me.
And they love looking at these pictures. So it did help with pulling with the teeth.
Exactly. So you had text and then you had pictures. So you had the learner that learns from textual things and then you had the visual learners, right? So you weren't missing, like you were able to get two types of learners in on one lesson. So nobody really felt left out. So that's going in the right direction. They got a chance to visually see what it was that you were referring to. So that's in the right direction. So if we look at this one, let's make sure that we have solid parts of the lesson.
Okay.
So I have your exemplar response. So I would do now, students would do a gallery walk of the...
I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
What I'm going to
For the sake of time on a Wednesday, it probably wouldn't be the best thing to do.
Okay.
What do you think would be better?
I want to go on BrainPot and play a video that dealt with the aspects. And then I wanted to write guided. I'm going to write guided notes for those aspects.
Okay, so you don't even have to write the guided notes for the video. Why don't you tell them, so we're going to watch this video. I want you guys to write down 2 or 3 important facts that you've learned about the Aztecs from this video. They can write it at the bottom of, maybe you can have a piece of paper that says, do now with 3 bullet points. Tell them I want all 3 of those bullet points filled up.
Okay.
So that would be a do now, to have your video right here. And who are we learning about again today?
Aztecs.
The Aztecs. So how about we not do that? How about, so your do now is really like a hook, or it could be like a reteach from yesterday. How about we take the time out to review Mayans? What kind of way could we take maybe like 3 minutes to review what we learned the previous day on the Mayans?
What did, okay. Not gonna talk to you. Okay. Class. Who can tell me, who can remember what we learned about the Mayans? What were one of the most popular inventions they had? And student response would be a calendar. What were they known for? Like, I think I would try to touch on the exit ticket kind of to make sure.
Exactly, and that's the way it should go. So take a look at this, origins. This is their study guide right here. They could be filling this in every single day.
Okay.
So why don't you take this and why don't you guys work together to fill in the origins of the Mayans, the characteristics of the Mayans, and the expansion of the Mayans. Leave that to 5. I take that back. Try to get that done within 4 minutes. This is their study guide, and then you move on to the Aztecs. Then your lesson could be them filling in this for the Aztecs. So I've actually already printed these out for you. I printed out 60 copies of them. And this can be their study guide. And then you can create a small quiz for Friday around these questions. Keep in mind, since they're just getting that study guide Wednesday, your quiz shouldn't be anything too hard. Just something to refresh their memory and to see whether or not they're grasping the concepts.
Okay.
So your do now will be them actually filling in this. Keep in mind, 30 minutes. Them filling in this, then you guys will go on to your you do. You guys are going to fill in this. For the sake of Wednesday's time, you don't need a we do. This is your you do. You may want a quick exit ticket. 3 or 4 questions, really, really quick. So your next steps, I'm going to email it to you, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to fill in some of this. Your next steps will be to actually just review this lesson plan before you teach it. Come up with your PowerPoint, so that way you can stay on track as far as where you want to be at in the lesson. And just remember that you don't need the we do for that day, simply because we're short on time. Do you have any questions for me?